So it is an early morning for a new week. This is week 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for this series of videos. Um, I'm a little bit tired, a little bit worn out. I haven't been sleeping too much. Mostly just like personal stuff, as most of you know by now. But I've been also just trying to get back on track, kind of trying to keep myself in that creative space and making myself move forward and push forward and whatnot. This week, my physical therapy starts. Today is going to be my first day. Hopefully, it won't be too bad. First days usually aren't too bad because it's more like assessments and seeing how well or how bad you are currently. So it will be a good gauge to see how I'm doing and how I'm going to recover and whatnot. So yeah, that's going to be fun, I guess. I haven't had physical therapy in a while, not since earlier this year, really. I started off getting okay, physical therapy for my ankle. Um, as some of you already know, like I've had trouble with my left ankle ever since I had a accident at my old day job back in Puerto Rico when I was a security guard, where one of my tendons got torn, and it's been kind of a recurring issue since. There are times where it does get better, but there are other times that like the smallest thing, like the most random of accidents will happen, and it'll just set it off for a while, and I'll have to get physical therapy for that as well. So I actually had to halt the physical therapy on my ankle to concentrate on the physical therapy on my shoulders. I was pretty much almost done with the physical therapy anyway for my ankle. It had gotten a lot better when I started doing the physical therapy for that, so at least that's a good thing. It really hasn't bothered me much, especially compared to my shoulders. So yeah. That's pretty much on the physical side. Again, I haven't been able to do much illustration wise. I do want to do more character designs, more promotional work. I'm slowly getting into it. In the meantime, as I've been showing you, concentrating more on the writing aspect, the plotting out, and planning everything out, which is fun in its own way. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do believe that I'm a stronger writer than I am an illustrator. But still, that artist bug is there, you know? I have to get that art flowing. And hopefully I will, because I was having a lot of fun doing the Indie-tober, Inktober stuff. And hopefully I'll get some artwork rolling out soon. I really can't wait to start illustrating. I have had the curiosity of trying to illustrate with my left hand instead as well, so I would like to experiment with that. So it will be, again, like I have to challenge myself, I guess, constantly. It keeps things interesting, at least for me anyway, to just keep challenging myself in a lot of ways. When I was at SVA, that's one thing that the professors really liked about me, that I like to take chances. I like to gamble and get out of my comfort zone and just continually challenge myself. And if anything, all this video making, all this writing, all this whole story of hell beneath you is anything, if anything, it's a challenge to myself to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and for one reason or another, I really haven't done it. And to do something that'll capture like that essence of what I've spoken before of the kind of stories that my family and I would gather together to watch on TV and whatnot. So it's definitely going to be one of the more challenging, if not the most challenging project I've ever done. The most challenging thing, of course, has been Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord, because of the longevity of the series. In hindsight, maybe I should have made it shorter, but at the same time, again, it's that whole challenging myself, you know, trying to just, keep escalating things creatively. And even so, this, as I've said before, the story of Warlord should have ended years ago if it weren't for all the things that has happened in between, especially after like that period between chapter 18, 19, when when I was involved in a car accident that really kind of set off a chain of events that really set things back for me. And ever since, it feels like I've just been trying to catch up. And it's frustrating sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, it is frustrating. It's like a perpetual feeling of catching up, and I'm never gonna catch up with myself. But at the same time, I'm so determined to see this story through. The Warlord should have ended years ago, especially at the pace that I was going, updating pages on Drunk Dog and now known as the Duck webcomics, and on my own website and all that. So yeah, it is frustrating sometimes, but I still haven't given up. There's been a whole set of sad challenges, especially the past year. But, I just have to keep pushing forward. So I just got done with my first round of physical therapy this week, and it kicked my ass. I haven't moved my shoulder in those ways in a long while now, but hopefully it'll help with avoiding surgery, these physical therapy sessions. So I'll be doing this for 8 weeks, aside from also working out at home and the gym and such. So yeah, the weather's actually changing quite a bit. It's a lot cooler now. A lot of people with jackets and coats, and I'm just in a t-shirt and loving it. So, I've been doing a lot of work reminiscing about Warlord over the past couple of months. When I wasn't able to exactly do Warlord month this August as I wish I could have done, because again, a lot of things happened and I was extremely busy as well. So I decided to like do the rest of the year kind of like Warlord, a Warlord celebration, since it is the 15th anniversary since I had published the comic online. And in actuality, it's actually closer to 20 years, 20 something years, if we go back to when I was in middle school when I first created the comic. And I kept on holding on to that character through high school. And these are the notebooks that I had through high school, actually, of the Mighty Warlord stories. And I've been kind of posting pictures of the different issues and whatnot. It went for 50 issues. And aside from the 50 issues of the main story, there was an issue number 0, which is this one. and a miniseries of 4 issues after the end to kind of fill in some gaps in between storylines as well. And I did start another miniseries that I was going to do after that, but by that time I had already started writing the scripts to reboot it into the series that you're seeing now, actually. So yeah, it's been fun kind of like showing these off. Right now, I'm on the third notebook showing them off on my social media, mostly on Facebook and on TikTok as well. Look at that, 1994, September. I love this notebook. Issues 1 through 6 of Warlord is here. Like, I'm sorry if I'm like just kind of randomly skipping without giving much time, because there are spoilers in some of these, and if you want to like see a handful of the illustrations, you can definitely check it out at my Facebook art page, Serene Chaos. This is really one of my favorite storylines, actually. The one that I posted today was issue number 8, I believe. Yes, issue 8 was the one that I posted today on Facebook. Let me just kind of... yeah, just look at the Looney Tunes for a second while I catch my... let's see. Just wanted to show the cover at least. Here it is. Issue number 8. Breakdowns, that's the storyline in this notebook. And of course, you know, that's how it goes afterwards. These notebook issues, comics were a lot of fun to do. It's interesting to see how much my art changed throughout this whole process of all these notebooks and all these storylines. In a way, I'm actually kind of regressing into this kind of style that I had back then. Like, I really want to challenge myself art-wise the way that I always challenged myself doing these notebooks. This is another one of my favorite storylines. This storyline was actually almost all action throughout. Oh, I almost spoiled something there. This is actually one of my favorite notebooks because it's Disney's Tarzan, my all-time favorite Disney movie. I absolutely love the artwork on this movie, and it also helped inspired a lot of the art in Warlord at one point as well. Like, I actually envisioned a Warlord animated feature more or less with that artwork up until I got more and more into anime. It would be nice to see like a hybrid between like anime and this kind of Disney style as well. Of course, Miami Heat on the final storyline of the comic in these notebooks, because Miami Heat is my favorite basketball team. And here you have the proof. I am not a bandwagon LeBron James writing fair weather Miami Heat fan. Miami Heat fan through and through. Like, is there a date here? Because I want this to be verified and certified that I am a Miami Heat fan from the OG back in the day This was from 2000. I was a fan since before that, the Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway era, and it's an official NBA product. The hologram is still working. There you have it. The verdict is out. Thank you very much. Game, set, match, win. Here's a nice little cover with most of the main characters. Again, I can't really show much because I don't want to spoil much. And I'll eventually get to these notebooks anyway when I post them on my social media, when I show off like some of the stuff. Here is that. Oh, I killed my coffee mug. Anyway, here is like that mini-series after the main series ended. It was just, like I said, 4 issues to kind of fill in some gaps that were left in the comic. And this was going to be another 4-issue miniseries where I just kind of wanted to give flesh out a little bit more some of the world building of Warlord, and I wasn't able to finish it, or rather I decided not to finish it for the time being. I probably will finish it in this format eventually, just to say that I did it, and also to just have it as an aside in case I want to use that material for the main story that I'm publishing. So yeah, like, as I said, like, I want to like talk about some of the other stuff that I'm doing in between Hell Beneath You stuff as well, because I am juggling kind of multiple projects, and also because it's a little bit slow, the process this time for Hell Beneath You, especially with the shoulder injury, which, by the way, my girlfriend actually confirmed with me that my physical therapy isn't just like 8 sessions like once a week. It's actually 2 sessions a week. So I scheduled for the end of the week another session as well. So yeah, hopefully that'll help me recover sooner. So these are the notebooks. In terms of Hell Beneath You, I've written down a list of potential names for the main characters. More than likely tomorrow I will have like finalized the names that I have chosen for the family at least. And also I've been like juggling a couple of ideas that I've been putting down as well. So I'll likely discuss those more tomorrow. I have finally settled on the name of the main cast. It took me a while to just like go through different names and see which ones would kind of fit their personalities and the history of this family more or less. And I finally came to the conclusion of what names to assign to our main characters. The father, which was the first image that you've all seen, and that's first image that you've seen, of course, in the intro. His name is going to be Jacob Young, also known as JJ because of his initials. His wife, the mother, her name is going to be Pilar Young Ortega. The oldest daughter, which is the girl that you see with the glasses in the promotions, her name is going to be Sol Young. For the twins, twin number 1, Yiho Young, which translates into wisdom and greatness, Yiho. And the second twin is going to be named Mark Anthony Young. It is a mixed race couple. So the kids are biracial. So they kind of have like nods to their respective families, which is why, like, for example, the daughter has a more Hispanic first name, and the second twin also has a more Hispanic name. and the other twin has a more traditional Korean name as well. So it took me quite a while to just go through lists and lists and lists of names just to kind of, not give a name that was too generic, but at the same time not give a name that would be too obscure. I had to do something, at least in my opinion, that was something more in the middle, something that sounded plausible. This is, again, these names are going to have a reason why they have it. It will be as shown as part of the story as it develops as well. That's why I really took my time trying to find names that would really fit the story and would fit the personalities of these characters as well. And I'm pretty excited because at least with the main character names, I can at least write out a first draft of the first issue, maybe even the first draft of issues 1 and 2, because the other names that will come along. Like traditionally, when I write, the names kind of come along as I write. This is the first time that I really just like took my time in assigning a name to each character because I wanted to give each character their own personality and their own history for having those names, kind of like, family. Like a lot of times names really mean something in the families. For example, my name, of course, is after my father's name. So again, I wanted to give it like the most plausible sounding names and names that would make sense in that family history that these characters have. So there you have it, name reveal time. Yeah. As I mentioned in the previous, I believe, segment of yesterday, I've been doing a lot of reminiscing about Warlord and doing all these different countdowns of like my favorite covers, my favorite chapters and whatnot. And today I posted on Facebook my second favorite chapter so far, which is chapter 11, which was the finale of the first long storyline in Warlord. Chapter 11, a lot of people know this chapter. For those who don't, I'll try not to spoil much, but it ends pretty much with the story that I had been setting up since the beginning. It was, up until recently, it was the most intense chapter of the entire story. Like, people, when they first started reading this, like, you can see there were quite a few comments on every page, which was crazy. It was probably the most commented and most viewed chapter at that point. Like, I guess, like, kind of showing some of the pages off. I don't want to show too many spoilers. If you haven't read it, this is actually one of my all-time favorite pages because of just like the layout and the action in it, and again the intensity. Like, I really enjoyed this page. This was a tough chapter to do, not just because of the artwork, but because of the writing. So many things happen in this chapter, and it was a chapter that I was kind of dreading to do in a sense, because I kind of do get very emotionally attached in these stories, especially to the things that happens to the characters. And It's not exactly a happy ending. It's not exactly well, Warlord itself isn't exactly a happy story. Yes, so many things just happen, and so many bad things especially happens to not yes the main character Fred Peterson, but to so many of the other characters that are involved in this world as well. This was a big chapter. Like literally it was a big chapter. As you can see, it was almost 50 pages. Like again, just skipping forward to not show too many spoilers. And this is the page that I showed off at the post because it is one of my favorite pages of the entire series. Because again, it kind of capped off so many things and pretty much the main theme of that first storyline. If you all put it together, it's like one storyline with sub-stories coming in between. Like there's like 3 sub-stories there, which is pretty much the origin. Well, not really the origin, but you know how Warlord made his first appearance, and then other characters as well. Then the middle sub-story, which is kind of showing off more of his powers and giving a little more of his origin. And then the third part, which is really the one that ties things together, the first 2 acts, and then, you know, sets things up for book 2, which is the second storyline where we're at now. But again, this is just one of my all-time favorite Warlord pages. I had to throw in the Puerto Rican flag, of course. It is based in Puerto Rico. The characters are Puerto Ricans for the most part. So, yeah. Happy 15th, Warlord. I have uploaded the first episode of season 2 of the Serene Chaos podcast early on my Patreon. As you see, it was released 13 days early compared to when I'm actually going to put it up on Podomatic, just so I can have like something to offer people that follow my Patreon and that are subscribed to it. It's exciting. It's almost unbelievable that it's up there. And just remember, when in doubt, Lance Danger it. And what that means is, yes, give no Fs. If you want to do it, just put it out there without worrying about it being perfect. Things will get better the more you do them. You know, it's progress, not perfection. And that's pretty much my whole philosophy, especially over the last few years. So on the previous segments, I had discussed how I came with the main characters' names. Today I settled on a couple of the main, not main characters, but at least part of the supporting cast, especially from the early part of the story, which is before the big tragedy that forces the family to move in a different direction in their relatively normal life, and also expanding a little bit on their backgrounds. Timothy Childs, that would be Saul, the oldest daughter's boyfriend. They are both in high school. They're seniors. They're going to be seniors before everything happens. So her final year of high school, she's actually going to spend it in a different high school once they move to King's Kill. So that in itself is going to, you know, kind of drive a bit of a wedge between herself and her family because, the whole thing of wanting to graduate with your friends. You have this established lifestyle already, and then you're going to start all over again, and not just that, but start all over again only to renew everything again after you graduate. So it's a very hectic time for this character, which is going to cause a lot of, storyline possibilities between herself and her family. And Timothy Childs is going to be her boyfriend from the original place where they were living at. They've known each other since forever. They were close friends until they realized that they were in love with each other just before they had to move out. So, again, like the story is developing, fleshing out a little bit more as I actually give names to them and motivations and whatnot. Whitney and Gabe, those are the neighbors of Jacob and Pilar. They're pretty close. I wouldn't go as far as saying that they're best friends, but they're the closest things that they have to having friends, since they live a very busy life, as I wrote here now, showing more of their character. Pilar is a nurse, and JJ, he is a firefighter, so they're pretty much on call 24/7 in a way, because you never know what's going to happen. So especially during these times, you never know what's going to happen. So they have very hectic lives, which lends to more of the story aspects as well that I'm trying to put through in this story. So hopefully this will kind of give you all nuggets of how the story is going to be and where it's kind of heading at, without going into spoiler territory, but at least kind of give you all a bit of a feel of what I'm going for and how this is going to be developing for these characters. I have been giving a great effort into putting more content into my Patreon account. And as you can see here, one of the things that I have been doing is I have been comparing the original strips of Nevermind to the newer ones I did starting about a year ago. For those of you who don't know, the very first webcomic I put out there was a webcomic called Nevermind, which is a slice of life autobiographical strip. And it started off a little something like this, very crude pencil illustrations with hand lettering. And I kind of wanted to give it a makeover, since the same as with Warlord and other webcomics that I did at the time, I lost all of the original artwork. So there was no way I could do a proper printout of those comics. So I wanted to do something that, kind of update things, and at the same time, I will be able to offer something new so that older readers could kind of see it different enough to get into it, and for new readers to just jump in as a good jumping on point without having to have known how the original strips went. As I've mentioned before, these strips were inspired in part by stories like True Stories, Swear to God, Keith Knight's comic, The K Chronicles, American Splendor, and others that weren't necessarily autobiographical, but stuff like Optic Nerve as well really helped inspire the look and feel of these original strips. And I kind of hope I can maintain that same kind of essence to that storytelling at the same time as updating it for a more modern audience as well. After another round of going through names and motivations for the other background characters in the story of Hell Beneath You, Yesterday I was having a bit of trouble kind of narrowing down the names of these characters until I finally, yes, went with my gut. And, as I said earlier in the one of these days before this, I just Lance Danger did and just went with, um, don't lose yourself too much into focusing on one thing and pushing things back just because you're indecisive about something like a name. Just do it and keep moving on. If the name has to change later on, you have that ability to just change it if it's not working, since it's not out in print yet, of course. So this is still in its relatively early stages. But I have the names of the main supporting cast after they moved to King's Kill. Cynthia Parker, that's going to be Sol, the eldest daughter's friend, pretty much the only real friend that she connects with at this new high school that she's going to have to go to graduate. Father Cedric Malone, he is going to be a father, a priest of that little town where they live in. They don't necessarily go to church, but it is a small town, very traditional, old school. So it's a kind of a big thing to like go to church on Sunday. Everyone knows everyone's name. Kind of like an old Americana kind of style town. And there's going to be Mayor Chris Furneaux. He's the one that I showed earlier, I believe last week, that I'm doing some of the designs around one of the promotional material for the comic. There's going to be Kenneth Ken Beckett. He is an ex-priest that happens to be the Young's family neighbor in this new area. He's kind of a mystery character. It's not even known immediately that he used to be a priest himself. He very much like the Young family moved to this town because he went through a tragedy of his own. So this town is kind of like a place where people go either to move on, to forget, or to heal. That's pretty much what people do to go to that town. And the last two that I have written here, Tabitha Wagner and Chrissy Masters, they're going to be pretty much the bullies of the story, the ones that will be pretty much harassing and making life a living hell for Sol in high school. So, again, like, it's been very fun actually doing the whole naming before writing the full script or the drafts or whatever. This is the first time that I've actually taken the time to write the names down first and go into a little bit more detail on the characters' backstories and motivations. Of course, I didn't write down here too much that I could spoil the story for all of you. But yeah, again, like I said before, I wanted to put just enough to show the progress and also to hopefully entice you into wanting to read the comic when it comes out. Another week, another video I am editing. It feels very cathartic to end the week on a note like this. Just editing the video of the series that you're watching right now. It was a more productive week this week compared to last week, which makes me happy. I did have to kind of push myself to not stay stuck on one thing like I was mentioning before, so I can, be able to have more progress. So in that sense, I'm happy. I do wish I was able to do more artwork itself because I still haven't been able to do much artwork yet with the shoulders being the way that they are, but hopefully with physical therapy, I'll be able to be more productive on the art side as well. Though taking the time to like write the names and take notes the way I have has been fun in itself, you know, like compared to blank pages, how I started, to all these notes now. It's been really fun. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to, as I said, show more artwork and work more on the Indie-tober, even if I go over. I already know that I'm not going to finish it on time, but I am going to take my time doing them because I do want to finish them. As I said, my goal was to finish it, even if I wasn't able to do it in a timely manner. Excuse me, finishing it in October and such. But again, like my goal is to just finish little things to kind of build up that confidence and build up that strength and stamina of being able to work on the comics and whatnot and work on artwork in general. So hopefully all that will come together and just help push the product out as well. So once again, it was a much more productive week this week than last week, I feel. So this time I can definitely with confidence say it was a flawless victory. Things are falling into place, and hopefully I'll have more stuff to show you next week.